Discover the miraculous rise of Benjamin, God's plan for transformation in Jacob's beloved tribe. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, as the sun rises over Canaan, a weary patriarch named Jacob attends to his flock. His heart, however, bears a heavy burden within the confines of his tent. There, within the shadows of despair, is Rachel, his beloved wife, in the throes of labor, surrounded by midwives, their voices a blend of urgency and anxiety. As pain courses through her, she feels torn between joy and sorrow, for Rachel knows that this childbirth is fraught with risk. Yet, in that moment of struggle, she makes a desperate vow. She names her son Benjamin, a name cloaked in duality, son of my right hand and son of sorrow. As the cries of the newborn echo through the camp, a deep silence envelopes Rachel. A smile graces her lips, but with her last breath, she departs this world, leaving Jacob to cradle their precious son, now an emblem of their love forged in trials and grief. Benjamin, the child of promise, is born from misery, a stark reminder of loss yet brimming with hope, a tangible connection to the beloved Rachel. Growing up amidst a household rife with jealousy, especially toward his older brother Joseph, Benjamin remains blissfully unaware of the veiled resentment swirling around him. He plays with laughter, his innocence shielding him from the familial storms brewing just beyond his sight, where shadows of treachery haunt his brothers. They simmer with bitterness, unable to comprehend the depth of their father Jacob's affection for Joseph, a favor that weighs heavily on their hearts. When Joseph is sold into slavery, despair cloaks Jacob. Mourning for the son he has lost, he leans upon memory, the sweet laughter of Rachel echoing alongside the sorrow of separation. But the famine in the land drives Jacob to send his remaining sons to Egypt, even as dread grips him over parting with Benjamin, the last connection to Rachel. Yet, the gnawing need for sustenance urges him to allow Benjamin to accompany his brothers, a child of survival. As the caravan trudges toward Egypt, the air thick with desperation, Benjamin unknowingly steps toward an encounter that will reshape the narrative of his family. Upon arrival, they confront Joseph, now a powerful figure in the land, cloaked in authority, yet their eyes miss the familiarity of flesh and blood. The brothers plead for grain, and as Joseph listens, his heart aches for Benjamin, the brother he longs to embrace yet can't reveal himself to. In a divine moment orchestrated by the Lord, Benjamin is called before Joseph. Standing at the threshold, he gazes into the eyes of the man who occupies a position of unimaginable power. A tide of emotion surges within Joseph, as the memories of their shared youth flood his soul. Here stands Benjamin, an embodiment of renewal, the product of heartbreak and the hopeful son of Jacob, just as Joseph had once been. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. As Benjamin stands before the viceroy, pondering his next steps, the world around them shifts. In this moment laced with divine providence, uncertainty looms over them, but the promise of reconciliation tantalizes as the heartache of the past entwines with the threads of God's overarching plan. What new beginnings wait past this pivotal encounter? Will Joseph embrace the light of forgiveness? The unanswered questions cast a shadow, inviting the reader to hold their breath in anticipation of the impending transformation where God's hand leads them toward reunion, healing, and unity. As Benjamin stands in the viceroy's hall, the weight of his lineage presses upon him. Joseph, veiled in authority, gazes upon his younger brother, whose presence stirs emotions long buried beneath the sands of time. "Is this your younger brother, of whom you spoke?" he asks, his voice steady, yet a tremor of fervor lingers beneath the surface, for he longs to reveal himself, yet is bound by wisdom and caution. The brothers nod, their minds still clouded by confusion and fear, unaware of the blood that binds them in ways deeper than mere kinship. The air is thick with tension. Benjamin shifts, feeling both the gaze of strangers and the weight of expectation that clings to him. Joseph's heart swells with compassion. He remembers their childhood, their laughter, the games they played beneath the watchful eyes of their father Jacob. Yet hidden behind this joy lies a bitter fracture, one that the family has yet to mend. Observing their plight, he decides to test their integrity. Your words have fallen heavy in my ears. You claim to be honest men, yet your past speaks of deceit and betrayal. I shall keep one of you as a prisoner until the others return with your youngest brother. A wave of despair washes over the brothers at the viceroy's decree. What is to become of us? Judah cries out, his voice hoarse with grief. We have already lost one brother, and our father mourns for him. If he knows of any harm that comes to this boy, it will break him. Let me stay, I will bear the consequences. Joseph observes their turmoil, a mixture of rising hope and lingering doubt. Beneath the viceroy's stoic facade, a wellspring of understanding beckons from the depths of his soul. He recalls how he too felt the pangs of indignity, once cast aside as an Egyptian servant. And yet, against all odds, he was preserved and placed in authority for such a time as this. Nay, I shall keep only Simeon. The rest of you return with provisions for your house. The echoed word lingers, steeped in a divine purpose unbeknownst to them all. Once the brothers are sent away, saved from hunger, Joseph gives command that Benjamin be given grain, but he also instructs that his own silver cup be placed within Benjamin's sack, a subtle scheme that would lead to further testing of their hearts. As the brothers make their journey back home, laden with food yet heavy with dread, they cannot fathom the depth of providence that orchestrates their path. Along the way, fear lingers in their midst. How will their father react? Will he allow them to bring Benjamin back, or will the past hold too great a shadow over their future? The twilight sun gilds the desert, and the shadows seem to whisper secrets about the reunion yet to come. Benjamin is unaware of the trials set before him, nor of the depths of God's sovereign plan unfolding in secrecy. With hearts in turmoil, they arrive home, the burden of their tale weighing upon them. Jacob's eyes narrow as they recount their encounter, disbelief mingled with sorrow etched eternally within him. Why did you tell him you had another brother? He exclaims. You have brought destruction upon us, will you take Benjamin as well? Amid the rising storm of grief, hidden promises tremble on the horizon, and the stage is set for a great reveal. God's tapestry of hope, restoration, and ultimately reconciliation is poised to unfurl as the trials of the heart challenge each brother to confront their past. What will become of Benjamin, the innocent son, enveloped in the shroud of ancestral sorrow? And what plans does God have for this family marred by betrayal, yet destined for unity? The answer trembles in the air, a whisper of divine grace awaiting its moment to shine through the darkness. As the brothers sat heavy-hearted in the confines of their father's tent, the taste of fear lingered bitterly upon their lips. Judah spoke first, his voice trembling with urgency. We must return to the viceroy. For we are in a great despair, and it is Benjamin our father loves most that we have put in peril. We cannot abandon Simeon to sorrow. Reuben, ever the voice of reason, added, but how shall we lift our eyes before our father? Jacob's heart has already been shattered by the loss of Joseph. What will he say if we plead for Benjamin's return? The brothers looked amongst themselves, their faces reflecting the anguish of guilt and fear, caught between the pain of past betrayal and the urgency of the present. They were bound in a web of their own making, woven with lies and the weight of their father's grief, yet it was Benjamin, now quietly standing to the side, who spoke, his voice a mere whisper but resonant in its innocence. I will go. I cannot allow Simeon to suffer for my sake. I have already borne the weight of loss. Let me bear this risk, for the love I carry for you all outweighs my fear. Judah's heart stirred with newfound resolve. Then we shall go together. Our father must know the truth of our situation. We shall ask him for mercy. As they prepared for their return journey, Jacob was struck with a heavy sorrow and dread. His children approached, hands trembling with fear, laden with the burdens of their conscience. Father, Judah began, his voice wavering, we must journey back to Egypt, for we cannot neglect Simeon. We ask that you allow Benjamin to accompany us, for without him, we cannot return. Jacob's eyes widened, despair spilling forth as he grasped the gravity of his son's request. Surely you have placed your brother in danger. My heart cannot endure losing another son. How can I forsake this last treasure? He fell silent, his soul torn in the crucible of anguish, but as the night deepened, the Spirit of the Almighty moved upon Jacob's heart, reminding him of the covenant made with his forefathers. And with the dawn, after a night of wrestling with his soul, he spoke softly, "He may go with you. But may the God of my fathers protect him. My heart cannot bear the weight of another loss." With that, the brothers gathered grain for their return, buoyed by a flicker of hope that God might yet have a hand in their deliverance. They set forth on their journey, the air thick with expectancy. As they neared the borders of Egypt, God orchestrated the return of the silver cup without their knowledge, a hidden test awaiting revelation. Upon their arrival, they were met by the viceroy's officials, who, misled by the silver cup hidden in Benjamin's sack, accused them of theft. The brothers were seized with horror, for the very one they sought to protect was now at risk of punishment. Joseph, standing in shadows of authority, watched with intensity as his brothers pleaded for mercy, their cries filled with desperation and newfound integrity. "We are your servants," Judah implored, "and all the guilt rests upon me. Let him go, and take me instead." As Benjamin stood trembling, caught in the unfolding drama, the viceroy's mask began to crack under the weight of his own heart's desire to reveal the truth. Here was the moment to unveil the layers of his past, and God's faithfulness echoed through the chambers of his soul. That a divine tension lingered in the air, a precursor to the great redemption that was about to unfold. For it was in this moment of testing that the paths of forgiveness and reconciliation were set to collide with the brothers' hearts, beckoning them toward a destiny far greater than their forebears could ever have imagined. And so the divine orchestrations continued, God's plans were unfolding, revealing shadows of grace amid their darkness, as the cup glimmered with the promise of restoration. What future lay before them as hearts beat to the rhythm of reconciliation? Would they confront the ghosts of their past and embrace the breathtaking journey toward divine restoration? The answer lingered in the air, waiting just beyond the threshold of their understanding. As the sun arose over the land of Egypt, a golden hue bathed the hall where Joseph, the viceroy, had summoned his brothers. The air was thick with emotion, as the brothers stood trembling before him, their hearts pounding with dread and anxiety. The viceroy's countenance was hidden, his regal attire billowed like clouds above the storm that surged within. "Why have you treated me this way?" Joseph began, his voice steady yet layered with unseen hurt. "You have brought this upon yourselves." The weight of his words bore down upon the brothers, awakening the specters of their past misdeeds, long thought buried beneath years of denial and remorse. "Sir, we are not thieves," cried Judah, his voice filled with desperation. "Our father sent us with grain for sustenance, and we brought what we had. We come bearing the weight of our guilt, but we are innocent of this crime." Joseph held his gaze, an amalgamation of pain and the flicker of a deeper purpose igniting within him. He longed to reveal himself, to embrace his brothers as Joseph, yet the Spirit of the Almighty compelled him to navigate this trial with wisdom. "If you speak the truth, then one of you must remain, while the rest return to verify your words. It shall be the youngest who remains a token for the truth you claim." At the mention of Benjamin, the brothers recoiled in horror, hearts clutching anew at the thought of losing another brother. "What shall we say to our father?" Reuben lamented, glancing at Judah, who stood resolute in his dismay. "God has brought this upon us for our waywardness," Judah replied, a solemn understanding settling over him. "May our father's heart be spared this pain. We shall lay our lives down if it means Benjamin shall return." In that moment, as their anguished hearts intertwined, Joseph could bear no more. He turned away to conceal the tears streaming down his cheek, a torrent of feelings flooding him: anger, love, despair, and hope. "Leave me," he instructed in hushed tones, for the tears that fell were the harbingers of a reunion yet to unfold. As the brothers departed, burdened by sorrow, Joseph remained aghast at the transformation blooming within them. As if by divine orchestration, old wounds were being exposed to usher in healing. Their prayers for mercy stirred up echoes of grace that rippled through the heavens. The brothers arrived dehydrated and weary, but with the resolves of wounded hearts heating their spirits. "Father, we return with tidings most grievous," Judah spoke, his voice shuddering as he outlined the decree of the viceroy that Benjamin must remain while they proved their honesty. Jacob's visage turned ominous, a tempest brewing deep within him. "You have harmed me. First Joseph, now Benjamin, my joy is a fading memory." His lament echoed through the walls of the tent, a cry for the mercy he felt had abandoned him. "But the Lord watches over us," Reuben interjected. "This trial is for our sakes. Perhaps through our strife, God will lead us to restoration." That evening, as the shadows gathered around, Joseph could be seen penning a letter deep within the palace walls, his heart torn yet hopeful. In his spirit, he discerned God's hand weaving through their sorrows, igniting the path of redemption. The time was drawing near for the ultimate revelation. The very salvation of their family was at stake, and yet, the deeper mysteries of God were just beginning to unfurl, and so, as dawn broke anew, casting light on Israel's heartache, a plan was shaping beyond human comprehension, a plan to reconcile the brothers to one another, and to lead Jacob's beloved tribe into the fulfillment of the promise bestowed upon their forefathers. What would become of the family of Israel in the light of such unfathomable grace? For the journey toward love, loss, and eventual redemption was just beginning, and the Lord was about to reveal yet another layer of his profound divine sovereignty. As the first light of dawn pierced through the darkness, casting shimmering rays upon the tents of Jacob, the air was thick with a sense of foreboding. The brothers, laden with the burden of grief and guilt, sat huddled together, sharing whispers and casting uneasy glances at one another. Each word felt like a weighty stone, adding to their already heavy hearts, for they had left Benjamin innocent and unaware in the hands of the viceroy of Egypt. "What shall we do?" Simeon asked, his voice a faint whisper of despair. "Our father cannot bear the loss of another son." Judah, whose steadfast spirit had emerged in the wake of their calamity, replied, "We must seek an audience with the viceroy once more. We have not yet exhausted all means to rescue Benjamin. Surely there is a path we can tread that leads us to his return." Meanwhile, in the palace, Joseph's heart was torn as he gathered the remnants of his resolve. The thought of Benjamin, the only brother of his own flesh and blood, alone in that foreign place stirred a tempest within him. He pondered the tapestry of grace that was being woven through their trials, a tale only God could author. Would his brothers exhibit the change needed for reconciliation, or would fear yet bind them to their past? With a gathering of his officials, Joseph prepared to receive his brothers again, his mind racing with anticipation and dread, knowing what lay in the balance. "Let them come," he instructed, a glimmer of hope igniting in his chest. "Bring them to me without delay." When the brothers were once more ushered into his presence, they were met with a gaze that held both authority and compassion. Unbeknownst to them, Joseph was observing the very essence of their transformation, an unsung melody of repentance that spoke of a renewed spirit. "Why are you here?" he demanded, his voice strong yet shrouded in sorrow. "The truth of your hearts must reveal itself today." With trembling words, Judah stepped forward, desperation etched upon his brow. "We have come to plead for our brother's life. We stand before you not as thieves but as men who are humbled. Our father's soul mourns for us, and our family cannot bear this heavy yoke any longer." Joseph listened, discerning the sincerity that flowed from Judah's heart. In this moment, this pivotal moment, a choice lay before him. Could he embrace his brothers not as the viceroy, but as Joseph, the beloved son of Jacob? As silence fell upon the assembly, Joseph's heart rested again with the love he bore for his family, alongside the fear of rejection still clinging to him. "You have indeed changed," he said softly, the words more painful than any accusation. "Your sorrow reveals the burden you bear, yet I must test the resolve of your hearts." Judah, sensing the gravity of the moment, bowed low, beseeching, "If my life can serve as a pledge for our brother's freedom, let it be taken. Spare him, I pray." The viceroy's spirit trembled at the sight, tears glistened in his eyes, the shadows of the past colliding with the light of future hope. At that very moment, he could no longer contain the storm of emotion raging inside him. "I am Joseph," he declared, his voice breaking through the silence like a bolt of heavenly thunder. "Is my father still alive?" As the realization washed over his brothers, a wave of shock and disbelief surged through them. They stood frozen, grappling with the unimaginable truth before them. The tides of destiny had turned, and the fabric of their lives began to unravel the mysteries of divine intention, yet, while their reunion simmered on the edge of joy, the deeper truth awaited revelation. A confirmation of God's sovereign plan was unfolding before their eyes. For a greater purpose lingered beyond their immediate understanding. They were to be the vessels through which nations would be saved, and seeds of a promise would bloom. As the dust of their past settled, a new journey began, not merely for reconciliation, but a divine redirection that would pave the way for the lineage of Israel. What awaited them was an unfolding story of redemption and fulfillment, where they would discover the miraculous rise of Benjamin as a beacon of hope, woven intricately into the fabric of God's eternal promise. As the weight of Joseph's revelation enveloped the room, silence descended, thick and palpable. The brothers, each bearing the marks of a guilty past, found themselves engulfed in disbelief, battling the tumult of their emotions. Fear curled at their heels. The viceroy, their brother, had survived years of exile and hardship, bearing witness to their betrayal. What would be his response? Would he exact vengeance for their sins? "Come close," Joseph beckoned, his voice infused with both command and warmth. The brothers, trembling yet compelled, approached the throne where their brother sat, now clothed in the splendor of Egypt. "I am your brother, whom you sold into Egypt," he continued, the words heavy with the weight of history. The air shimmered with the tension of unspoken words, hearts pounding in the shared acknowledgement of their past. But Joseph, filled with the Spirit of God, said, "Do not be distressed, nor be angry with yourselves because you sold me here, for God sent me before you to preserve life." Genesis 45 verse 5, his eyes gleamed with unwavering faith, illuminating the path of their shared destiny. As the truth settled over them, Judah, initially the voice of desperation, now found strength in the newfound bond. "Your mercy, brother Joseph, overwhelms us. We believed it was our hand that brought us low, but it is your hands that deliver us," he responded, his voice a mixture of reverence and remorse. The brothers felt chains of shame begin to lift, a movement divine, resonating with the heart of God. Joseph nodded, understanding the complexity of their shared wounds. "You see, the famine has been in the land for 2 years, and there are yet 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvest. God has sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant on earth, and to keep alive for you many survivors." Genesis 45 verses 6-7, as his voice echoed in the hall, Joseph's heart soared. In God's grand narrative, this unfolding drama of redemption would not only save them but also fulfill the covenant made with their forefather Abraham, a promise that had walked through valleys of despair towards mountains of hope. "Now, hurry," Joseph urged, "go up to my father and say to him, 'Thus says your son Joseph, God has made me Lord of all Egypt, come down to me, do not tarry.'" Genesis 45 verse 9, the urgency of his command infused both fear and exhilaration. The brothers, imbued with a renewed sense of purpose, felt the mantle of their roles shift. They were no longer betrayers but messengers of God's preservation. As they departed the palace, laden with gifts and provisions, the brothers were not merely retreating to a fractured household, they carried with them the promise of reconciliation and renewal. But even as they rejoiced at their transformed fortunes, a deeper promise loomed on the horizon, a prophecy yet unfolded in the lineage of their youngest brother, Benjamin. "May the Lord grant us favor," Reuben whispered, the weight of this journey pressing upon him. "For what awaits us is not just the restoration of our family but a calling unto greater purpose." Thus, the divine orchestration continued its symphony, a story woven into the very fabric of creation, leading toward a future marked not merely by healing but by the miraculous rise of Benjamin amid nations. For through him, a new lineage would emerge, one that would eventually cradle the very Messiah of the world. And so, with hearts turned toward home and eyes set on the path marked by God's hand, they journeyed forth. What awaited at the end of their path was more than they could anticipate, a sovereign plan splendidly crafted by the Almighty, leading toward truths yet unknown. As the brothers journeyed toward Canaan, their hearts were a tumult of excitement and trepidation. The weight of Joseph's words lingered in their souls, intermingling with echoes of ancient guilt. Each step upon the sandy path brought them closer to their father, yet each footfall was a reminder of the burden they now carried, a revelation of grace wrapped in the sorrow of their past. The sun set over the land, painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson, much like the dreams that had once ignited jealous hearts among them. As night cloaked the world, they shared stories of their father Jacob, recalling the warmth of his embrace and the lingering scent of his blessings. They spoke of Benjamin, the youngest, the one they had shielded from their darkest hour. Would he bear their news with the same reverence that once enveloped their household? "Surely, our father awaits us with bated breath," Simeon mused, his countenance betraying eagerness. "Tell him not just of our liberator, but of our humble return, cleansed by Joseph's embrace." Reuben, ever the voice of reason, held the gaze of his brothers. "And let us speak of the gifts Joseph has given us. Perhaps these treasures will soften the heart of our father, as they did his son. But we must be honest, our hands carry both blessing and burden." With dawn's first light, the brothers crossed the threshold into their homeland, the fields unfurling before them in rich greens and golds. As they approached their father's tent, the weight of their confession surged within them. They exchanged furtive glances, each brother gauging the truthfulness of the other's resolve. It was Judah who stepped forward, emboldened by the spirit alive within him, as they entered their father's dwelling. "Father!" he called, voice trembling with tenderness, "hear us. We come not as deceivers, but as bearers of hope. The son you thought lost is alive." Jacob's eyes widened in disbelief, an abyss of emotion washed over him, filling him with both dread and wonder. "What say you?" he gasped, clutching the edges of his tunic, seeking to steady the tremble that shook his frame. "Joseph lives. He is ruler over all of Egypt," the brothers spoke in unison, their voices intertwining in a melody of revelation. Tears coursed down Jacob's weathered cheeks, a mingling of joy and grief spiriting him into the depths of memory. "Is it true? Is my son truly alive?" The question tore from him like a primal cry, piercing through the air. "Indeed, he commands the provisions of the land, and he has sent for you, father," they said, revealing the treasures from Joseph, a bounty meant to enliven their family. As they unfurled the silks and grains, Jacob beheld the bounty bestowed upon them with a staggering heart, yet, amid the joyous reunion, there lingered a divine thread weaving its way through their narrative. Benjamin, the beloved of his mother Rachel, was to become the focal point of a promise yet unfulfilled, a legacy carrying the weight of an illustrious future. "Come, let us go to him, that our family may be restored," Jacob finally declared, his spirit ignited by faith. And so, the family of Israel transformed a tapestry of sin and redemption, woven tightly with the divine thread of purpose. With haste, Jacob journeyed to Joseph's side, joy mingled with apprehension propelling him forth. The promise lingered in the air, strengthening within the hearts of the brothers. They would find reconciliation not just with Joseph, but with the God who had orchestrated deliverance through the most painful of circumstances. What they did not yet know, however, was this journey would herald not only the salvation of their lineage, but the rise of a new prophet, through Benjamin, who would bring light and guidance to nations. As the sun rose higher, casting its brilliant glow, the stage was set for divine revelations, as God's sovereign promises loomed ever closer, ready to spring forth in a climactic unfolding. As Jacob and his son set forth toward Egypt, the day glimmered with the promise of reunion and restoration. The dust swirled around their feet, and in each gust of wind, a whisper echoed, urging them onward, as the pressing need for hospitality and belonging grew ever more palpable within Jacob's heart. With each mile traversed, a fiery anticipation enveloped the family. Jacob could envision his son Joseph, now adorned in regal splendor, a stark contrast to the ragged figure who had once pleaded for mercy. Yet amid the joy that bloomed like blossoms in spring, shadows of past sorrow loomed heavy over the hearts of the brothers. Approaching the gates of the Egyptian city, they were struck by the overwhelming sights and sounds, the clamor of merchants, the vibrant colors of cloth, and the fragrant wares that lingered in the air. The clinking of the coins exchanged echoed like a heartbeat, bearing witness to the wealth amassed by Joseph in the land of his exile. And there, amidst the throng, stood a man of authority, his eyes piercing with wisdom. "Joseph!" Jacob cried, his voice breaking as he beheld the figure who had once been a child of his old age, now transformed by the trials of life into a mighty leader. Joseph rushed forth, affection flooding his heart. He embraced his father tightly, the longing years evaporating in that sacred moment of reconnection. "Father, you have come!" Joseph exclaimed, his voice brimming with joy. "All my dreams have found their culmination in this very hour. You must come and dwell in my house, for I will provide for you and your sons." Yet, as the brothers witnessed this tender exchange, a storm brewed within their hearts. The memory of their treachery weighed upon them like chains of iron. Reuben's voice broke the silence. "Joseph, we have much to say and much to repent. Do not forget the darkness of our past." Joseph turned, his expression steeped in grace. "You need not fret. What was intended for evil, God has turned for good. I see now that he sent me before you to preserve life." Genesis 50 verse 20, as their family reunited, profound feelings surged through Jacob's heart. The pain of his beloved Rachel was not forgotten, yet he sensed that God's plan transcended his understanding. His gaze shifted to Benjamin, who stood shyly among them, cloaked in the golden promise of special favor. Days turned into weeks as they settled in the land of Goshen. The Egyptians provided generously, and in the abundance, they witnessed something miraculous. Benjamin began to flourish, drawing the attention and admiration of the people, leading them to speak of prophecies long etched in their history, the promise of a leader rising from the midst of Jacob's sons, a ruler of nations who would guide them in wisdom. The brothers felt the strain of these unfolding events, apprehension gripping their souls. Would Benjamin, the child of promise, rise to take a mantle that belonged to despair? In their hearts, the daring question arose: could it be true that God had destined Benjamin for something far greater than they ever imagined? In the hush of the night, while the stars twinkled overhead as divine witnesses, Jacob paused to pray. "O God of my fathers, I lay bare my fears. What do you desire of Benjamin? Will he carry forth a legacy from which the world might glean hope and redemption?" Unbeknownst to them, the divine tapestry was being woven with threads beyond their sight, each moment a part of God's intricate design. The legacy of their bloodline would be rich, and in the richness, shadows of the past would yield to the brightness of the future. Little did they know that soon, the soil would have to be tilled for the emergence of a prophet who would declare the oracles of God. As the dawn broke, illuminating their days with hope, the foundation was being laid for an extraordinary work that only the sovereign Creator could orchestrate. The journey towards divine destiny had truly only just begun, and with it, the promise of a nation yet to come drew near. In the land of Goshen, the days passed with a rhythm of abundance, each moment a testament to God's providence. Joseph, now a distinguished figure clothed in power, moved through the palace with a heart swollen with gratitude. The weight of his burdens felt lighter, knowing that his family was near, a remnant preserved in the embrace of his affection. Yet, amid this flourishing, a shadow loomed once more, an echo of the past entwined with the present. Benjamin, cherished and favored, became the object of both admiration and envy. His laughter filled the halls, yet in the quiet moments, Joseph could sense the unrest that stirred within his brothers, a reminder that the scars of their past were not easily vanquished. One fateful morning, Joseph, guided by a heavy heart and divine purpose, summoned his brothers to him. The air was thick with anticipation, as they gathered in the great hall, the walls adorned with fine tapestries depicting the strength of the Egyptian people, but theirs was a history colored with frailty. As they stood before Joseph, he said, "My brothers, I have a matter of great importance to discuss." They exchanged anxious glances, memories of betrayal lingering like a hazy specter. The unspoken weight of fear gripped Reuben, who dared to speak first. "What is it, Lord? Our loyalty has been tested, and our hearts bear the burden of our past." Joseph's gaze pierced through them, an intense mixture of compassion and authority illuminating his features. "You need not fear. The God of my father revealed to me a vision, a harvest greater than we fathom awaits us. But first, I must test your hearts. You shall return to Canaan and fetch your youngest brother, Benjamin." At this, the brothers were stricken with dread. What good can come from such a request? Judah's voice quavered, stricken by memories of love and loss. Joseph, sensing their turmoil, softened but remained resolute. "You have spoken of your father and the promise of saving your bloodline. I cannot allow there to be division among you. For you must see that in this test lies not just the preservation of your family, but the very fulfillment of God's covenant to your forefathers." The brothers wilted beneath the gravity of their decision. They understood the measure of the risk, yet lingering in the air was a flicker of hope. If they did not comply, would they not witness the fate that awaited them? As they spoke of their fears, Benjamin, hearing the commotion, stepped into the hall, youthful innocence wrapped around him as a cloak. Joseph's heart surged with emotion as he beheld his brother, his heart aching and rejoicing simultaneously. "Oh, Benjamin," he thought, "the world is poised to witness the unfolding of our destiny." Days turned into nights, and at last, the brothers consented, leaving Joseph emboldened yet yearning. As they prepared for their journey, Jacob's wrinkled hands clasped the rough fabric of his garment, grappling with the tension of renewed hope and the haunting specter of loss. "Is it right to risk Benjamin?" he lamented, addressing the Lord. "Yet can your purposes unfold without him?" In the silence of his tent, the wind rustled gently, the stars above bearing witness to Jacob's prayer. And in that sacred space, a promise began to stir through the hearts of men, one that would weave their story into the fabric of destiny yet to be unveiled. Little did they know, the trials ahead were necessary, each step a means to awaken their faith, and in doing so, they would draw closer to the profound truth: God's plans are far greater than the human heart can conceive. As the journey took shape and the promise beckoned, the heavens grew quiet, preparing for the unfurling of a divine mystery more intricate than they could possibly imagine. What awaited them was not just a return to Canaan, but a confrontation with God's plan that would echo throughout generations. As the dawn broke over the land of Egypt, a new day heralded the culmination of a divine orchestration that reached beyond the confines of human understanding. In the heart of Joseph's palace, anticipation thrummed in the air, and the fragile threads of reconciliation lay ready to be woven into a mighty tapestry, one marked by both pain and triumph, loss and restoration. The brothers, awakened by dreams of hope, stood with their leader Joseph, whose heart was now fully aligned with the desires of God. "Gather close, my brothers," he called with a voice that pierced through their fears like a beacon amid darkness. The vastness of the hall echoed with unspoken words, yearning to find their way home. "It is time for the truth to unfurl its wings." Benjamin, sensing a shift, positioned himself close to Joseph, his only brother by birth, yet years apart in experience. With eyes brimming with sincerity, Joseph disclosed the heart of the matter. "You have walked through shadows of regret together, yet I beckon you now toward the light of a reconciled future. The pain we have endured will not break us, but will bind us together stronger than we ever imagined." The brothers weighed his words, emotions swirling with the memories of their past. "We cannot redo what is done," Judah interjected, vulnerability sifting through each syllable. "Yet we stand, prepared for whatever truth you wish to reveal. Let us know our path forward." In that moment, Joseph stepped closer, compelled by the Spirit of the Almighty. "Though you once meant it for evil, God meant it for good," he spoke with conviction, allowing the healing power of forgiveness to wash over them. "He has rendered my trials purposeful, prospering this lineage for the sake of many." A wave of collective understanding cascaded through the brothers, and as they saw the truth arise, the wall of distrust crumbled. "What can we do?" Reuben asked, hope igniting in his heart. "You shall be the instruments through which God's promises blossom," Joseph replied, his voice a melody wrapped in kinship. "Go. Return to our father, bring him here to dwell in this land of abundance. Tell him that all I have is his, and do not forget to include my beloved brother, Benjamin, who holds greater promise than any of us yet realize." With newfound purpose, the brothers each nodded, understanding that their journey was not just one of physical return but also a spiritual pilgrimage toward redemption. As they made their way back to Canaan, traversing the sandy pathways, the air vibrated with excitement shaped by the promise of restoration. The siblings were no longer just men seeking deliverance but servants of divine purpose. Jacob, burdened by uncertainty and longing, looked up as his sons came into view. The lines of worry etched on his face melted away at the sight of their return. "What has transpired?" he asked, his heart pounding as he knew their return was laced with import. "Father," Judah began, his tone a mixture of reverence and urgency, Joseph lives, and he is Lord of all Egypt. He wants you to come and dwell with us there. The blessings we have received from the viceroy surpass our wildest dreams." In that moment, the walls built by sorrow and grief crumbled, replaced by a promise long told and oft forgotten. Jacob's eyes filled with the vision of what could be, the flavors of dreams long set aside shifting toward fruition. "Joseph lives," he exclaimed, incredulous tears streaming down his face, a mix of disbelief and joy flooding his heart. "Yes. And he desires to honor you and protect us all," interjected Reuben, his voice steady with conviction. "Let us not hesitate, the time to reclaim our family is now." And so the journey began, one of courage and renewed faith. They packed their belongings, laden with blessings, and set forth to the land where forgiveness bloomed like flowers after the rain. They approached Egypt not as a family marked by betrayal but as a renewed clan, bound once again by the divine hand of providence, and when they arrived at the gates of Joseph's palace, Jacob laid eyes upon his son, cloaked in the regalia of his position. In a moment suspended in time, the two men, the father and the son, embraced deeply, merging their joys, losses, and newfound hope into a single sacred moment. Their tears mingled, honoring the pain of separation and the beauty of reconciliation. As they broke apart, Joseph turned to his family and said, "You see, the hand of God has led us here to heal not only our hearts but to re-establish the line of Israel. From this union, I perceive that the blessings of our family will ripple through nations, for it is through our beloved Benjamin that the greater purpose manifests." Benjamin stood proud, a quiet strength emanating from him as he realized the weight of being both the child of sorrow and the son of promise. The echoes of his mother Rachel accompanied him, affirming that his life marked by favor would usher in a legacy of hope and light, guiding the world toward grace. And so, as the sun set on the horizon of Egypt, saturating the skies with shades of gold, Jacob, Joseph, and the rest of the family gathered around the table resplendent with abundance. The past lay behind them, a faint memory cloaked in the gentle warmth of reconciliation, while hope for their future burned bright, for in the land of Goshen, God's promise was both seen and fulfilled. Dear friends, in this sacred narrative lies the profound truth of restoration. Just as Joseph's story bears witness to God's redemptive work in our lives, so too do our journeys invite divine transformation. I encourage you today to reflect upon your own story and recognize the grace that guides you. Subscribe immediately to this channel. You need to stay connected to God's Word as we unveil more powerful biblical stories that illuminate His faithfulness. Leave a like now, for this is the moment to help spread biblical truth through the digital realm of our time. Comment below with your reflections and share how this tale of Benjamin has impacted your faith journey, for your insights may inspire others. And don't wait even one more second. Share this powerful testimony with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth and experience the miraculous rise of hope in their own lives.